All right, hello everyone. Welcome to part 2 of 3 of our MSW 2023 Advanced Standing Orientation. Today we have some wonderful presentations done by Ms. Vanessa and Monique dealing with writing and library support services through the School of Social Work and our university as a whole. They're going to go over some presentations, answer some questions, and hopefully everyone leaves here today more empowered and confident as we get ready to start our master's program in June. Please remember that Tuesday, June 20th will be the in-person orientation. So make sure to try to make sure that you make it there. It'll be from 8:30 to 1:30 p.m. And we have again, we have Monique Oldfield, we have Vanessa Gualtieri, and
Hello.
we have some of our other staff on here, Andre and Naila on the call as well. And we have a few students. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to pass it off to Vanessa to get us rolling. We'll be on for about an hour, so we'll be ending around 6 p.m.
Sounds good. Hi, Lawrence. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Vanessa Gualtieri. I'm the writing coach for the School of Social Work. So I work exclusively with social work students at Wayne State University, and joining me is Monique Oldfield. She works with social work students as well. She's a favorite library research librarian. So welcome. Thanks for joining us. So today we're just going to have a very casual discussion about writing support services available to you this coming semester, what those look like. And Monique will walk you through, searching for literature, your writing assignments. And then at the end, we're here to answer any of your questions. So we have a small group. So if you have any questions, make sure that they go in the chat so we can answer them. And one thing you just want to remember is, I teach to a standard, which is the APA 7 standard. But your instructors always have final say. So just remember that if you have questions about what you need to submit, ultimately it is your instructor who decides on things like structure, expectations, and due dates. So just a little icebreaker, if you'd like to put in the chat what your favorite Midtown Detroit restaurants are. If you find yourself on campus and you want to grab some breakfast or lunch, some suggestions in the chat would be helpful for everyone here today. Yes, so good. Love Ema. Delicious. There's one in Corktown too. Coffee 320. That's also really good. I love that. I love, no, I can't remember. Oh, Faux Lucky. Very good. Bucharest, yes. Yes, Iggy's. Those biscuits are delicious. This is really good. Good list. So while that's going, let's just chat a little bit about what writing services look like. So the university offers their own writing services. Those are typically targeted to undergraduate students, although they do offer some support for graduate students. Some of those writing coaches may or may not be proficient in APA. Many are proficient in MLA, the standard in social work, and most social sciences is APA. So I would start with me, and then from there, maybe if you think you need something else, you can always move to the university's writing center. But for us, we know social work students really need strong oral and written communication skills. They are invaluable to social workers. And so we do offer free writing support because it's such a big part of your curriculum and also your career. This is me. My email address and phone number. I offer both virtual and in-person appointments at the School of Social Work. If you're interested in scheduling an appointment, you can go to the STARS link below. Oops, below. Okay, sorry, guys. The STARS link below that takes you directly to my scheduling site, and you can see availability. You can schedule something, cancel, reschedule, all through the STARS website. And this will be sent to everybody as well in email. It'll be recorded. You'll also receive an information sheet on Tuesday that will have all of our contact information, my contact information, Monique's, and our research tutor as well. So everything is appointment-based because it does tend to get busy, particularly in the fall and winter semesters. So we have to do it by appointment. Drop-ins really don't work for this type of thing. We also offer Q&A events on various writing topics throughout the semester. Sometimes they might be focusing on things like plagiarism, or they're focusing on constructing research papers, or just on APA. I'm working on one that will support students in deciphering a syllabus, so kind of breaking down the components of a syllabus so that they, I think, do a better job helping us. Writing support can take place virtually using platforms like Zoom or Microsoft Teams, so we don't have to use Teams. If you're more of a Zoom person, that works. If you require any additional support in these platforms, I'm happy to support you with that. Reach out to me and we can work on that together. So the types of services I perform include both higher order concerns and lower order concerns. So those are broken up into two categories. Higher order concerns are more broad. They look at things like critical thinking, so how you're reading and how you're synthesizing the literature, developing ideas and evidence. I can take you to a certain point, and then usually Monique picks up from there with her services. I work with students on analysis, on organization, using sources, so how we integrate literature into papers, how we cite and format our papers. I also work with students on thesis statements and focus areas, if that's not clear, and also identifying our audience, which is also very important when writing papers. Lower order concerns are more detailed. So things like mechanics, sentence structure, what your paragraphs look like. Do they make sense? Are they organized? Spelling, have we chosen the correct words? So we also look at those things. And then I also work with students on the resumes and cover letters, and students who require additional support for time management. I work with students on that as well. So we would develop a schedule early on in the semester and then follow that schedule as the semester went on. Services that I cannot provide include content coaching. We are not content specialists, and so we do suggest that you reach out to your instructor if there are certain theories or concepts that are not clear to you, and go beyond the assignment guidelines. I am not allowed to assist students with exams or tests, personal statements, or reinstatement letters if those are necessary later on down the line. These books I feel are very helpful for students who are interested in developing their writing skills. On Writing Well, the Classic Guide to Writing Nonfiction is a really great book that does a great job focusing on clutter and clarity in writing. So if you're a student who struggles in those areas, I believe this book does a great job coaching students through writing clearer with less clutter. The Elements of Style is a classic writing book. The APA 7 manual would be really handy to have. And the Columbia Guide to Social Work Writing is also quite handy as well. This is the APA 7 manual. It was released in 2019. It is very different from the 6th edition. So if you do have a 6th edition manual or are using 6th edition material, I would suggest you upgrade to 7th edition soon. So graduate writing differs from undergraduate, specifically in social work. Expectations are higher. So there is an assumption that you know a lot of stuff that you may not know. It's assumed that you know how to format a paper. It's assumed that you know how to integrate literature into your papers, but not all students do. Some require support in that area. So the expectations are higher. There's an expectation that your papers are handed in free of grammatical and technical areas. So you may see, or errors, you may see more points taken off your papers if you're submitting them with those kinds of errors. It's much more of an independent process. So guidelines may seem more broad. You may not see them as organized in the syllabus as you did in your undergraduate program. Extensive synthesis is necessary. So you're really diving deep here with some of your literature. There's an expectation that you know how to manage time well. So for group assignments, or you may have longer assignments and you may not have a lot of time to get those done. So this is really building on the existing skills that you have. This is just sort of a little chart that came from another school that sort of shows you the differences between undergrad and grad writing. So sometimes in grad writing, you may not have a prompt. Undergraduate syllabi are really deep. They have lots of really wonderful outlines. You may not necessarily get that in a graduate syllabus. You're generally presenting what others have said on a topic in undergrad, but in grad writing, you're offering new perspectives and insights on topics. Exploratory research is required in undergraduate writing, but extensive and comprehensive research is required in grad writing. I believe that our BSW program is more accommodating of direct quotes in academic papers, whereas you may have limits in graduate papers. You may have instructors who say like no more than 3 direct quotes and everything else has to be paraphrased. So just note that you may have, some surprises coming up in the program. So in graduate writing, we have to understand the assignment. So we can't just dive in, start writing if we're not still totally clear on what we have to write about. It's important to have a planning stage or brainstorming stage so you can begin to kind of understand what it is you have to do and how I want to do it. Then we research, then we refine that research. So we may have to tweak our topic. We may have to broaden it or narrow it down. And in some cases, if we're struggling to find literature, we may have to change it. And then we start our outlining process and then we draft. It's tough to do this in an advanced standing summer program, but certainly this is very doable for fall and winter for sure. So why do we pay so much attention to writing here? And why is this such a big deal? Other programs don't spend the kind of time on writing that we spend on it. And so it's good to know why. So we know that writing tests us for knowledge. Over time, it helps improve our skills. And it provides us opportunities to display what we know. So we know that, but it also increases our observational powers. It also increases our ability to summarize and communicate information efficiently and clearly. It helps us establish connections between materials that we're researching. And it helps us sort of exercise and sort out information, ideas, and impressions. And so as a result of that, we then become active constructors of knowledge. So we are able to provide new perspectives on certain issues, which is what we're all here for. And the concepts and ideas that we create now become part of our own lexicon. Consistent throughout time, professional social workers write frequently. So it doesn't really matter what kind of social worker you choose to become, whether you're working in a school setting, in an agency setting, or you're writing grants, you're working for a nonprofit, there are always going to be huge opportunities for writing. And some studies suggest that up to a quarter of your time is spent writing and communicating. So as a result of that, good writing will be very important to your success as a professional social worker and a student as well. And the lives of your clients will be significantly enhanced by strong writing proficiency. So the kinds of writing that social workers engage in include like case notes, assessments, policy briefs, advocacy letters, grants, scholarly research, and if you're working in the judicial world, recommendations. And you may even see some assignments coming up in your next semesters that may reflect some of these types of areas of writing. Excuse me. Social workers need the ability to build persuasive arguments that can convince law enforcement authorities and judges of a plan or certain path of action. Community workers must craft appeals to foundations and government agencies for funds that will result in needed financial support for programs and services. So that shows how important clear and concise writing is. Accountability to clients, constituents, supervisors, funding sources, and the public can hinge on clear and forceful prose and orderly statistics. So again, clear and concise. Inaccurate and unclear reports can create misunderstandings, errors, and confusion. And some pieces of writing can be considered a legal document. So mastering these rules of writing are essential for expressing meaning in a clear and unambiguous way. And as a result of the internet, we're actually writing much, much more, not less, but the issue is we're writing in a much more informal way versus like the academic writing that we're supposed to be doing. So the differences between writing in, your career versus in social work education are different. Obviously, you have the opportunity here to write drafts. Sometimes you have to submit your topic or your outline to your instructor before you're able to submit drafts. And you don't have those opportunities when you are working out in your career. Writing in the school of social work obviously is very important. It's emphasized in the syllabi. You'll see how heavily it weighs in those syllabi. Again, excellence is expected, grammatical errors, APA. So ensuring that you are giving credit to someone's intellectual property are all important. Your assignments will vary, and they'll certainly vary this summer versus coming up in the fall. But you'll be writing things like lit reviews, letters, process recordings, briefs, research papers, and you'll be writing both formal and informal as well. So lots of reflections, discussion questions, which tend to be more informal, and then your more formal research papers. Feedback is extremely important. Many instructors provide wonderful feedback. If there are opportunities to submit papers early to get feedback, take advantage of those opportunities. Not all faculty give that gift to students, but I would take advantage of it if an instructor would do that for me. So you may want to ask, like, are you willing to take papers early to provide feedback? Some instructors offer. Sometimes it's built into the assignment as well, which is which again is like a gift. So things to take away are to take time to understand your assignments before you begin writing them. Manage your time well. So build yourself a little, plan on how you want to execute the assignment and how long you think it will take. Properly integrate literature into your papers. Use consistent tenses. and allow others to give you feedback. Don't rely so much on software to correct your work, because that doesn't ultimately improve your writing. Don't make up resources or plagiarize. Don't use contractions, cliches, ask rhetorical questions. I forgot to add in here, don't depend on AI, which is something that's kind of new, but we don't want to do that right now. If you require technology support, either to access Word, learn how to use Word or Excel or any of the virtual platforms, cliches are like, I'm trying to think of an example of something like in a paper. So if you're writing an academic paper and you begin a paragraph with a cliche or like a rhetorical question that you're not ultimately going to answer, you want to stay away from that. You want to stay more in your lane of facts that and arguments are supported by literature. You don't want to dramatize your academic papers or give information that isn't related to the topic that you're writing about. So that's what I mean there. So the cliches and rhetorical questions kind of go together. So this is CNIT's help desk information. They've helped countless students, and they help quickly too. Like if I have a student who's struggling to get on Teams, they'll call and within like 3 or 4 minutes, they're online. So they work fast. They're really kind and patient as well. And that's all for me. Does anybody have any questions right now just for writing? And we'll do a question at the end as well after Monique presents library materials. Any questions? Okie dokie. I'm going to unshare and then pass the baton to Monique, who will pick up from here and discuss writing services. Thank you, Monique.
Okay, I'm going to open the screen. Okay, so my name is Monique Oldfield, and I work for the university library system. And we have 4 libraries that you can use. Anyone can use any library. We have the Adamany Undergraduate Library. That is not only for undergraduates. We have the Purdy Kresge Library. Some people think that because it's an older or larger library, that is just for graduate students. Not the case. You can use either library. I am in the Purdy Kresge Library most of the time. So that is where you can find me on a drop-in basis. But we're also going to go over how you can schedule in-person and Zoom appointments with me as well. And then I will also help people via email. There is also the Neef Law Library and the Schiffman Medical Library, and you are allowed to go into those libraries and get help as well or use their services. And that's not unusual for social work students to be interested in using those libraries. Okay, but besides the Wayne State Library buildings, the library website is also like a place. It's like a place that you walk into to get to the stuff that Wayne State is paid for. So I'm just going to put into the chat the library website address. What we're going to do today is kind of follow along live. Okay, but I'm going to repeat this a lot. Library.wayne.edu. This is the library website, and this is where you go to get into the stuff that Wayne State is paid for on your behalf. We don't want to go to google.com and type in some, keywords that sound like good topics for our paper that we want to write. Because what will happen is you'll get some blogs, maybe you might get a government website, but you'll also land upon journal articles but you would be asked to pay for those articles. Well, the truth is, Wayne State Library has very likely already paid for those things, but you have to go through our specific web pages to get into them. And that's what we're going to have a live demo on here today. Okay, but that's why library.wayne.edu is important. Okay, so even though I just told you this is exactly where you want to go, library.wayne.edu, you see this big quick search white search box right in the middle of the page. The truth is, this is probably not the best place to search, especially as we get to our advanced standing level. But I'm just going to demonstrate it here just so you can kind of see how it does work if you were to use it. All right, so I'm going to type in some keywords. I'm going to type in foster care and higher education. That's a research interest of our faculty and the campus here. So I type in some keywords because you're saying, yeah, librarian, you just, say go to the library and type in some keywords and get some library materials that Wayne State's paid for you. So when you use the quick search box, the results come up like this. They come up in 3 columns. They come up with an articles column, books column, and like some kind of just general Wayne State web information over here on the right. Most of the time, you're going to want to get articles. And so what comes up here are 3 article possibilities that have something to do with my keywords, foster care and higher education. Sounds pretty good. Here's a nice, article published in a social work journal published in 2023, in fact. Sounds nice. So we have like 3 possibilities here. Then it says view more results, over 200,000. Well, the truth is, we probably want to put ourselves in a better position than just trusting these first 3 that come up, nor do we really want to get involved in over 200,000 other results and have to kind of start working with that. And that's why I do not really love this quick search, because there are other places, other tools that we pay for that put you in a better position to start evaluating the articles and decide on which ones you're going to use. Okay. You can see here in the books and media column, we see some books. The first 3 that came up here are all ebooks. We invest a lot in ebooks. Sometimes even your textbook will be an ebook. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the library website. We're going to say, okay, the quick search box was not a great way to search. And instead, I'm going to go up here and take a shortcut on the library website to this area that says research guides up at the top. I'm going to click on research guides. And what we do as librarians, I'm the librarian for social work. I'm also a librarian for sociology, anthropology, and criminal justice. So we divide up all the things you can major in on the campus, and we make a special library guide to bring all of that together onto one page. Okay, so that's why we see social work in this list of guides. I got to click on social work one more time. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm once again going to copy into the chat this link to the social work library research guide. Just something you might want to copy and save, later. And in general here tonight, we just want to be getting the gist of how it all works. We don't got to worry that we have to remember to click on every little thing, As long as we kind of can remember that there's a library guide that will get you back to all these things, that's probably just a good thing to know. Okay, so on the library research guide, we navigate it with these links here on the left-hand side. And for the most part, you are going to often want to be right here, article databases. Okay, so the page changes in the middle. And what this middle portion is all about is these are what I consider the top databases used for social work assignments. So like that quick search box, that was just general. That was going to pull articles from anywhere. But oftentimes we really want to say, hey, what does the social work literature specifically say about my topic? And a place to get started with that is this first database listed called Social Services Abstracts. But I click on social services abstracts, and you're prompted for your access ID and password. I already logged in earlier today, but you log in with your access ID and password because this is how it's all connected here through the library system. And I'm going to hit this peer reviewed, meaning these are the kinds of articles published in the kinds of journals that our faculty research and publish in. And you'll be hearing more about that when you're in their classes. And now I'm going to enter some search terms once again, but this time my database is going to be very specific to the social work literature. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with my foster care and higher education topic. What you don't do, you don't type in a whole topic sentence. You don't type in, say, what are the common problems and solutions associated with foster care in higher education. We want to say, hey, what are these two keywords or phrases or variables, and how can we find articles that are maybe linking these two things together? So that's just one tip. Don't type in sentences, think of keywords. And that's actually also part of the brainstorming that Vanessa also talked about in the getting started portion. All right, so we now see some results, and the results, here's a typically sounding article here. Foster care liaisons in higher education, a conceptual framework for supporting post-secondary success among college students with experience in foster care. Okay. The peer-reviewed articles, which you probably have some experience with from a BSW program. I'll just reiterate it again. These peer-reviewed articles are written on very narrow aspects of the topic. And I say that because I found that students have to sometimes get used to that. We don't necessarily see an article, called Overview of the Foster Care System and how to best support, foster care children entering college. The articles are very, very specific. But that doesn't mean that you cannot understand what these articles are saying. You will understand. All right. So when we see one that we like, and we like the sound of this, underneath each citation will either be the full text PDF link, it will say PDF, or it will say link to full text. And we click on that. And what that is doing is checking to see, does Wayne State have that subscription? And we do. Here it says full text online. We click on that full text online. And now we are into the Wayne State subscription. And you usually will have to look around to click on one more time, download PDF. So I'm going to click on download PDF, and I hope that you can see this here. It's downloaded into the corner of my computer. So I'm going to now open it. Okay, this is just like if you had gone to the shelf and pulled this off the shelf. It is the same thing that would be in print. We would want to, now, like I said, the title of the article is usually rather descriptive, but still, we then want to really look over the abstract. This is something you probably already know, but I'm going to just say it again anyway. The abstract is more than just an introduction to the article. It will give a summary of what it is all about, including some indication of the results. But it will also talk about maybe the sample population that was specifically studied, how many were in the sample and things like that, that may be of really particular interest to you and how you evaluate whether you'd like to use this article or not. And you can kind of start looking the article over. And you can see here, just like you might have to do a literature review, the authors must do this as well. So you can kind of, if you begin to read articles, it can also be kind of inspiring of how you can maybe try to write in a similar way, or break down the parts of your paper and outline. Vanessa mentioned outlining. I'm also a big fan of outlining. You can see this article, is kind of following an outline. Okay, you can see here all the sections of the article, and it's divided into sections because that's there to help you as the reader follow along and read this. and maybe not be overwhelmed because you didn't know all of the, in this case, the definitions at first that they were all talking about of how they were defining their study and sample and things like that. Okay, now I'm just going to go over something very, very basic and obvious once again, but I'm telling people this from freshman to PhD level instruction I'm giving. We want to make sure we're saving this article. Okay, and we do that. We have downloaded it, but we want to make sure we have truly saved it by clicking on the arrow once again, the download arrow. You know, it doesn't have a label. It doesn't say save me with this. You know, that's kind of why I'm going over this. And if you cannot see the pop-up, the pop-up is to prompting me to save to my computer, and I'm gonna, you know, I can call it Foster 1 and save that. And I point that out, you know, I take the time, even our limited time we have now, to point that out, because you don't want to do a great search, think you found 5 articles, and then when you go later to write or to read them later, you haven't saved them and you got to go do this all over again. That's not how we, that won't save you any time. So we want to take the time to save as we go along. Anyway, now I can close these tabs and I'm back at my search results to continue to get more articles and save them. Are there any questions about this database that I'm in right now? Okay. So we have found that when we go to a database like this, Social Services Abstracts, that we can get articles from on our social work topics, very easily get articles on our social work topics that are published in social work journals, you know, things like called Child and Adolescent Social Work Journal, Journal of Child and Family Studies, Journal of Public Child Welfare, things like that. And sometimes that's going to be a specific direction in the assignment directions to make sure you're using social work journals. At times you will use law journals or public health journals and things like that, and that's okay. Okay, so, and we've kind of gone over how sometimes we have to maybe get used to the results and how very specific they are, how they're written on often very narrow aspects of the topic on very specific populations. And that's why you will often have to get 5 or more articles, because the research articles are very specific and they're asking you to kind of link these studies together. You know, what common things can you find, or what is some very important things that you can then report back into your writing? And that was another one of the concepts that Vanessa was talking about in the writing process. So kind of asking about, can we trust that the articles in the that we're getting here are trusted sources, but we still want to use a critical eye, which we do. But that's kind of, let me go back here to the beginning here. So we go to like social services abstracts and we click on, that's why it's good to click on this peer reviewed here. Okay. That helps us narrow down. So then when we're in our results and we see something that we like, we also do want to kind of look over the journal that it was published in, the date, for example. Some instructors might ask for a certain date range only, but that's not always the case. But this is an index of the literature, and these are the kinds of articles that our faculty write. And by using a database like Social Services Abstracts, we can then look up a lot of those like kinds of articles. So I hope I've answered the question. But in general, if you kind of put yourself in the position where you can check off peer reviewed, that's getting you to making sure that these are the right kinds of articles that the faculty want you to use. All right, so I'm going to leave Social Services Abstracts, and I'm going to go to another database on this same area of the guide just to show you another interface. But also you will definitely, during your time here, be using this other database called PsycInfo. In PsycInfo, it's a different database. this is a database that has even more articles in it than social services abstracts. This is a database of the field of psychology. It also includes social work literature, but it also includes gerontology and even some psychiatric nursing and public health, and it includes more. And you will use it definitely at some point. And when we do use it, we want to click on the advanced search. And again, this is just a general overview so that therefore, when you get the assignment, you'll think, okay, yes, I think this is probably a good case for that PsycInfo database that Monique was talking about. And we'll make sure you can access it again. All right, but let's say I wanted to look for something on veterans and post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, once again, I'm not typing in sentences. I'm just typing in keywords or variables of the topic. And in advanced search, you can do some cool things. Okay, you can make sure we click off peer reviewed. There we go. You can probably, we don't really need this for this topic, but you can actually indicate an age range for your sample. I think we have veterans, we probably can assume we aren't going to get any adolescent veterans. But, we can actually look at, aged, for example, or something like, if we wanted to do that. But under this methodology area down here, you might be using this more often than you think. For sometimes you're asked to do a case study. Well, here you can check off case study, and that will help you narrow down your results, that you'll know that they're a case study. I know this font might be really small, but you can also check off empirical study, but also things like qualitative study, or quantitative study. And also down here, this last one called treatment outcome, definitely in a research methods class, you're often asked to get articles that are truly about trying to measure, did a certain treatment that you might come in contact with work or not? And looking at different kinds of interventions that social workers use. And that we click on this treatment outcome, and this might help us narrow down to get those kinds of articles. So even though I love our first database, social services abstracts, it doesn't have some of these extra features that I can show you here today. I just want to let you know that those things are out there. Also, it is often appropriate to go beyond the social work literature and get articles from various fields. Let's see here, like this one, the Addictive Behaviors is the name of the journal. Journal of Affective Disorders. Once again, these articles are very, very specific, but as you kind of get used to the writing, it will be okay. Yeah, that one sounds good. So definitely you'll be using PsycInfo. You might even really be using it right away in research methods classes, in classes on cognitive behavioral therapy, infant mental health, things like that. But I just want to let you know that, it has a different interface than the first one we looked at, but it can really do a lot. All right, so I'm going to leave. So leave PsycInfo. There are many things that this guide can do. Okay, for example, I have a whole section here, social work policy resources for kind of what we call the policy assignment, when you have to look for policies on certain topics and write about them. So I have a whole section here on the guide. We have links to the DSM-5 text revision and the DSM-5 here, right here, online on the guide. Sometimes I have even developed special sections of the guide for specific courses. If you went through our BSW program here, you might have used this certain section for social work 4020. But there are a couple classes where I've actually, made some just special indications of certain tools you might just only use for that particular class. That's why I do that. But back on the social work guide, here I am down here, researching with you here, and you can email me, but we even have a whole just schedule an appointment, and you can ask for a Zoom appointment or an in-person appointment and book it in advance. Book it. You can book it without even talking to me, and then I'll just know to expect you. And you get a Zoom link if it's Zoom. You know, in person, we're in the Purdy Kresge Library. You can choose either one. I'm meeting with somebody in person tomorrow at 10:30. Besides my being on the guide, back on the library website, under the staff directory, you can find me here, you know, and book an appointment. There, make an appointment there, same thing. You can also, if you forget how to do either of those things, you can just send me an email and say, I want to make an appointment. And then I'll usually send you back this page, say, okay, choose from these times. So I will possibly be doing similar type presentations, but likely more detailed in some of your classes. You know, I might come in and do all this all over again in some of your classes. And even if you've watched this session, and even if I come to your class, that still means we can still have an appointment. It is not unusual for us to still have to work on something. You know, you have tried all this, you tried PsycInfo, you just still couldn't get the right keywords or something. Or maybe we have to really go to an even different database, depending on what are the best kinds of articles for your particular topic. Not unusual at all for me to work with social work students one-on-one. All right, I'm going to go back to the library website one more time. Let's see here. Okay. Now, I kind of told you we aren't going to really use quick search box. We're going to use the social work guide that you get under research guides, and I put the link in the chat, okay? Because you still might forget, you know, how to get back to it. We do have Google Scholar right here on the library website. Google Scholar is not my favorite place to search, but I know you're still going to probably use it anyway. So, for example, if I want to type in do a better job here. Oopsie. Yes, I do have fun there. You know, you can get articles here as well. But the good thing about when you use that Google Scholar from the library website is you can get into the Wayne State full text. If you would just have gone to Google, clicked on Scholar, you would not see these full text links. So at least if you're going to use Google Scholar, use it from the library website. But Google Scholar does not have those advanced search features, and it doesn't narrow only to the social work literature. So those are kind of why it's not my first place to go, but it might be a place I go, you know, just to see. After I've gotten some articles from PsycInfo, I might want to say, okay, just really want to check what else is out there. I will try my keywords in Google Scholar. I will point out that there is one thing you can do, which is kind of nice in Google Scholar, is you can click on this site here, and it will bring up some APA citation. It is not perfect, okay? And just because you got it from Wayne State Library website, and if there are mistakes in the citation, that does not mean that you are excused from those mistakes, but it at least gives you an idea of what the citation is supposed to look like. Another thing you can do is, let's say someone tells you, you know, hey, use an article with this title, kind of like I had found this article earlier. It can be helpful to use Google Scholar to find what is called known item searching. So if someone says, you know, use this article, you know, they say, okay, here's a title of an article that I've heard is good. If you run that title through Google Scholar, you can get into the Wayne State full text. So there are going to be times where even I might be telling you we're going to be using Google Scholar. We're going to tracking down some of these other references. Okay, we have some time for questions. Hope that's okay. Hope that and again, if you do not follow what I was saying, that is okay. We can always work it out one-on-one. But in general, I just wanted to reinforce that there are best ways of searching for the kinds of articles you're going to be asked for an MSW program.
All right. Any questions? Verbal questions? I've seen one question in the chat by Ash, but any verbal questions that you want to ask? Okay. Well, the question that was in the chat is so we can pretty much trust that the articles in the social work library are trusted sources, ? Obviously, we should still have a critical eye, but this should take some of the guesswork out of it, correct?
Yeah, really making sure that we're looking at the peer-reviewed literature. And really, like when I went over how the article looks, that's also a good clue, if your article is structured, if your article is 15 pages long, 10 pages long with a list of references at the end, and it kind of includes a structure that seems to be following the scientific method, those are good clues.
Okay. Good. Any other questions? Oh, all right. All right. Well, thank you, Monique, for presenting and sharing this information. Sure, it's going to be very helpful for our students, and it is recorded. We're going to actually stop recording now.